This past Thursday, I attended a lecture at the Stephen Wise Temple in Los Angeles. The lecture was given by Amy Jill Levine, who is a professor at Vanderbilt Divinity School. Levine is a very interesting woman. She is a practicing Orthodox Jew, though she says her orthodoxy is somewhat in question. And here she is teaching at a Christian divinity school. Her most recent publication is the Jewish Annotated New Testament, a New Testament with commentary that looks at the text from the perspective of first century Judaism. Also included are several essays by various theologians and Bible scholars about the Jewishness of Jesus and the New Testament texts. Her lecture was titled, "Where Christians Get Judaism Wrong and Where Jews Get Christianity Wrong." She spoke of the many misconceptions that Jews and Christians have of each other. And while there is much that contributes to these misconceptions, what I heard in each one that she laid out for us that evening was a form of absolutism when viewing the beliefs and practices of the other. Now, Christians are certainly guilty of this in our history of biblical interpretation. We have a tendency to reduce Jesus' Jewishness to a mere nod, forgetting that Jesus really did not intend to start a new religion. He intended to reform Judaism, particularly the aspects of Judaism the Roman Empire had influenced or overtaken for the sake of his people. This forgetfulness on our part is convenient because it allows us to make Jesus whoever we want Jesus to be. If we are Republicans, well, Jesus is on our side. If we are Democrats, Jesus is on our side. If we score a touchdown, Jesus must find favor in us. And if we don't score that touchdown, Jesus must not have been paying attention. We make Jesus into an anti-Semite, or a lawgiver, a moralist, a judge, or all-loving to the point of not having a clear stand. We make Jesus who we want to be and forget. Over these 2,000 years, it is so easy to forget that Jesus was a Jew and was standing solidly in line with first century Judaism. In today's gospel, we can see clearly Jesus' roots. His baptism in the water, followed by 40 days in the wilderness, echo and mirror so many themes from the Hebrew Bible. The Spirit of God moving over the waters, the flood and God's promise of new life in the rainbow, Israel wandering through the desert for 40 years, the parting of the Red Sea, being ministered to by angels harkens back to Elijah, and Jesus' proclamation of the kingdom of God is something the prophets have been speaking in so many ways for centuries, in ways that reflected what was happening in the times of their lives. The Jewishness of Jesus is a complex matter, as is the relationship between Judaism and Christianity. Now, I say all this not to take power away from Jesus or out of our experience of Jesus or being Christians, but to give us a new opportunity to get to know Jesus, in whom we believe the fullness of God was pleased to dwell. And we can make a clean start of this getting to know Jesus today on this first Sunday of Lent. What does today's gospel tell us about who this Jesus is? Jesus was willing to submit himself to John the Baptist for baptism in the River Jordan. Jesus claimed the identity of being God's beloved, belonging to God. Jesus allowed the Spirit to drive him into the wilderness, where he goes through his own spiritual struggle following his baptism. He returns with new life and a new message, a mission to make the kingdom of God something not in the abstract, but something in the present, here and now. Jesus is the way. Jesus is the way we follow. Meaning we too submit ourselves in baptism. And if we're baptized as infants, We claim our baptism as adults in the sacramental rite of confirmation. Confirmation is not just a silly hoop that the church makes us jump through, but recognition and ownership of our identity as God's beloved. We follow Jesus by following the lead of the Spirit, which is not something that is easy to figure out. It takes prayer and time, consideration and testing. And if the Spirit calls us out into the desert to go through our own spiritual struggle for the sake of letting go of what is no longer bringing us life and allowing God to be our source of strength and life, then we follow the Spirit's lead. We take courage in the life of Jesus and follow the Spirit's lead. And when we have been transformed by our struggle, we share it. We bring the good news to others, that God, who is love, loves us perfectly with all the love there is, and that there is nothing that can separate us from God. We know this to be true because we have followed Jesus into the desert, into those places where God's love to us can't possibly dwell, and we have come and met God there. Welcome to Lent, a new opportunity to get to know Jesus, a new opportunity to follow the way of Jesus, a new opportunity to find the presence of God in your everyday. Whatever you do this Lent, I hope you will move away from those tempting absolutes and get to know Jesus in a new way. Go with Jesus to be baptized. Claim your identity as God's beloved. Follow Jesus to the desert and return a transformed life, ready to receive the kingdom of God and to share the good news of God's perfect and complete love for all.